Hey everybody. Earlier today I had the opportunity to speak with Zach Kuczynski, and he's from a company called Zach of All Trades. Great name. Anyway, it was a very interesting interview, and you just won't believe where it began and where it ended. It's it's just something where you'd say, really? I don't see the connection on that. But anyway, it was very, very, very funny. But at any rate, he's a great guy, and I know that I've worked with him, and I would highly recommend you do so too. But anyway, check out this interview. I think you'll like it and find it informative, and it's coming right up right after this message.
This episode is sponsored by Save Your Memories. For over 4 decades, they have been helping people just like you to view, share, and preserve their memories by transferring them to a digital format. Now you can transfer your photos, videotapes, DVDs, and old movie films to relive again. Visit us at www.saveyourmemories.online today.
Hey Zach, it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, Rory. Pleasure's all mine.
Yeah, and I know that you know that we talk about people's success journey and how they got to where they are today, and it wasn't overnight, and that it takes a little bit of determination and a lot of planning and sometimes multiple failures along the way and that kind of thing. But sometimes it's also just unexpected turn of events or unexpected twists and turns that lead you to where you are. So I'm not going to try to put words in your mouth. I'm going to let you tell us about your journey.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it's been an interesting one for sure. I was a research and development chef for 30 years, and I worked in 19 countries around the world teaching people a cooking technique with technology that was non-traditional. It was speed oven, if you will. But I worked with a team of 10 culinarians who oversaw the world, and we pretty much divided and conquered up the world, and learned a lot of things, but pulled technology in at all aspects. And during that time, I had already gotten my welding certificates, and then went into culinary arts. When I graduated from school, got the job with that company, but always had technology, computers in the background. And so when I was laid off from my most recent job up here, it was a couple of years before COVID, and it just finally said, maybe I'm going to start looking more into technology, less into food. And that led me into getting my full stack certification in software development and computer development. And at the same time, I reconnected with somebody who I did work with at the company in Texas. That's Don Piccola, who ran Golden Goose Services. And we together kind of, started building this program and ended up launching Golden Goose Studios. And that is a majority of what my business is now. My business is called Zach of All Trades, where I do work with Golden Goose Studios and services and helping people build out studios and home so they can do remote work, remote video, things like that. But then Zach of All Trades, I also still do flavor development, recipe development. I am a licensed commercial drone UAV pilot. So I do aerial video photography, search and rescue, inspection, different things like that. But I would say the majority of my business is working with the clients through Don's company in helping people in building their home studio, teaching them video editing, getting them up and running on a CRM that we are an agency for, and a number of different things, basically helping small businesses get their word out onto the internet. So my journey has been an interesting one with lots of different turns, but it's always come right back to the tech, and that's kind of where I've always felt I excelled at. And the tech is what drew me in. And so with Don, kind of taking the rein on the sales and the how-to, I do much more of the nuts and bolts on what the tech is going to do for you. And so, I always felt like we were the perfect fit that way.
Okay, well, I know that you two do work together really well because I've experienced that with both of you. And a lot of times Don just turns me over to you when it's a technical thing, but you're able to jump in and help me out if I get stuck on something. So you mentioned that is an incredible difference between what you started with and what you're in now. I mean, I don't know how that connection actually happened. I mean, well, I know what you just said, but I mean, it just doesn't. It just seems like a big disconnect between the two worlds, But I guess you've made it work. But it sounds like that when one door closed, truly another one opened.
Well, absolutely. Growing up in Michigan, especially around the Detroit area, everything was cars and everything ran around the automotive industry. And that's why I was going for my welding degree first. And, as I got into that job, I was coughing up too much and getting flash headaches, and it wasn't for me. It wasn't working out. And so I said, well, I need something that's clean and not hot. So I thought kitchens was the perfect place to be, because those aren't clean or hot at all, right? But, I've always been a food person. I enjoy food. I think all of our best stories and memories somehow are brought back by food. It's funny how a certain smell can make you remember exactly where you were, what you were doing, who you were sitting next to, or what you were feeling at the time. And food has a way to bring us all into that kind of togetherness. And so bringing that in, I wanted to still keep kind of that tech background, though, because through food, through welding, through everything I've done, I've always done it on more of the cutting edge side. I was finding a way to get computers into kitchens back in the early 90s when we were just looking. We still had phone modems, and we were hooking phone modems up to ovens to share recipes with people in other countries. We were looking at putting little diagnostic boards in ovens that we had all around the world, so we could, just look at it and triage it. I could triage an oven in Saudi Arabia while sitting down in Allen, Texas. And so there were a lot of different ways we were thinking about what we could do for all these different realms and pull the technology in. And that's kind of how I've always, tied it all together.
Well, well, it sounds like you just were into building better mousetraps, but did you have an occasion where you were kind of feeling like what in the world am I going to do now? I really thought that was going to work out for me, or this is where I was going to be for the next 10 years, and now it's gone. How do you handle that? What was your process to go to the next thing?
It definitely hit that time where I was laid off from my last corporate job in 2020, right during COVID. It kind of threw me, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? There were a couple physical injuries that were limiting how much time I could spend in a kitchen standing up, and so I just felt like I needed to find a different avenue or get out of there. And so I went into this technical kind of retreat, if you will, and I started saying, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to pull it into tech? And what am I going to come out on the other side with? And that kind of led me into this technology boot camp, where it was a year and a half to go through all the steps of being a full stack developer. In that, they're teaching you basic coding, so that's machine code versus software code, and then teaching you things like password protection and encryption, database management, running different things through different portals, as well as mobile application versus physical application. And it just it all clicked for me, and I was like, this is really what I want to do next. This is where my life wants to go. And they always say, if you're happy doing what you want, or if you're happy doing what you need to do, then you don't work a day in your life. And it is much easier for me to say, especially when I was working with the oven company and we were moving these 400-pound ovens, and it was taking 3 of us to move these around. We always used to joke with each other saying, why don't we sell socks? They're much lighter. Why don't we do something that isn't quite as hard? And it's not to take anything away from the people that do those jobs. It's just at a certain point in time, it's like, okay, what can I do? What can I focus my most power on? And what am I excelling at the most that I enjoy doing? And that brought me to tech. And there is a large gap between the people who know tech and the people who don't really understand or don't want to understand tech. There's very few people in between. It's mostly one side or the other. And so I felt like that was a great spot for me to excel, especially during the COVID lockdown, where people had to be remote. And it was like, well, we can show you how to be remote. In fact, at the company I was working at, we had bid out to a couple companies to build us a remote studio to show, certain products from without having to travel out to them to, cut down the budget. And they had actually told us that it was going to be somewhere around $10,000-$15,000 to build this out. And when I got together with Don, we put together studios that were about $300. So it just, that there's a large disconnect even in the tech world from what you can do versus, what can be done with just a little bit of ingenuity, training the way that you think, or changing kind of what the standard norm is. And Don and I constantly challenge what that norm is and find better ways to do it that make it much more affordable and accessible to everyone.
It certainly does, and I know it was an answer for me, so I was glad to find it, and I think that what you were saying, what I got out of it was that you're absolutely right that there are some people that they want to drive the car, but they don't care how it works.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
They don't need to know; they just need to know how to drive it. And then other people love to work on the car. Really not drivers, but well, maybe. But I mean, that's not their thing. That their love is the work of it, and you're kind of in between the two. You can do the whole thing. So that's a good place to be, right? Whether it's COVID or not. When you're, some people I talk to, there's a lot of people that are in a situation of they're starting over. They're either they're getting out of the military. We're a big military town here, but they're getting out of the military maybe, and they're starting a new career maybe, or they're at a job and they don't like the job and they're looking to move on and all. Do you have any advice for those type of people into trying to start something new?
I think the biggest one is just, again, really focus on what it is you do well, or what do you have the most interest in. And there is no better time in the world, I believe. We're in the middle of this kind of new digital learning renaissance, if you will, that it has never been easier to learn how to do something at home, online, remotely than there is now. You can say a lot of things about how bad COVID was, and we lost a lot of people. There was a lot of heartache. There was a lot of bad stuff going on. But it showed us how much we could do remotely, or, how much we can learn, how much we can take in, how much we can put back out into the world from a spot of comfort, from a spot of being with your family more, from a spot of being slightly disconnected, but still staying connected in that way. And that's a lot of what Don and I try and bring out to people. We work with people all over the world, in multiple countries. We'll get everyone together, and there'll be people from Southeast Asia, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, all the way South America, and we'll all get on a meeting. We'll all work on the same thing, and then we'll start talking about the different things that we can put out there. So it's for anyone that's restarting or getting ready to do something, don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something, number one, because you can do whatever you want. Everything that's done out there in the business world is done by humans, number one. I always tell my parents that when they say they just won't ever get computers, I tell them, well, they're designed by humans, they're built by humans, you're a human, you can do it. And so, we work on the little things, and take it one step at a time. Don't get frustrated when you don't understand it. Just try and figure out exactly what it is you don't understand or why you don't understand it. Find a good mentor, find somebody that you can learn from. There are so many good spots. When my, clothes washer or dryer broke, I opened up YouTube. I found about 30 different videos on how to fix what I needed to fix. I watched it, and I fixed my own washer and dryer. We are in this kind of renaissance of, relearning ourselves. And it just, there's probably no better time to relearn yourself than now, because you're not as lost, because we are digitally connected.
Yeah, that's a great point, and actually, I haven't had somebody say that, but that's a really good point. And then on top of that, we've got AI coming along so fast and changing things so much. Actually a whole new world. I'll tell you, between what you can do online and everything. So, is there anything else that you'd like to leave us with as far as your success journey that you'd recommend to anybody that's thinking about getting in business or making a change?
I think one of the, you mentioned AI, and I have been on a couple boards discussing it. I've done a couple jobs teaching people it. There's a lot going on out there, and there's some good, some bad. A lot of people, are saying bad stuff about it. A lot of people are saying good stuff about it. But all I would say is, it's like the gold rush. During the gold rush, there were a lot of people making money all the way, as people went out west. And it wasn't people finding gold, it was the people selling the shovels or selling the gold digging equipment. And so with a lot of AI out there, there's all types of, forms and formats and programs that can do blah, 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 blah. You have to remember that most people are all using one of the same 4 models. And those 4 models you can use for a relatively inexpensive price, if not free. So learn AI a little bit more before you just trust or jump into something. Don't spend a lot of money in it at the front end, because if you can learn the basic models, then you can learn which models are actually adaptable to what you're looking to do with them. With ChatGPT, even the free version, you can go out there with a couple plugins and you can be, creating backgrounds or creating programs that write software for you. It'll design web pages for you, and that's without spending a cent. You just have to really learn how to talk to it, or how to, get the prompts or get its own language. So it's, if you're going to learn something, make sure that you're not just kind of learning enough to get by. Really deep dive down into something. And again, there are so many free videos out there that you can watch, and it doesn't take very long to find just, that real good one that kind of hits you and sparks you and says, you know what, this is what I want to do, or this is how I'm going to learn this subject.
Well, knowledge certainly is power, and that's never been more true than today. So I thank you for coming on Success Tracks today, and you have been very successful and also instrumental in what I'm doing, and I appreciate the help that you've given me. And you guys have a great system there that you all sell or show or help with, and it's been proven to be very good for me. So anyway, I appreciate you coming in, and so I will go ahead and end this if you will have anything else.
No, thank you very much again, Rory. Everything's looking great. You're doing a great job, and very proud of the steps you've taken. I mean, you were one of the fastest learners we've had, and you've come a long way.
Well, not really. I've been in the business 40 years, so I had a 40-year kind of head start. But anyway, yeah. Thank you, and thanks again for coming in. Okay?
Absolutely, thanks so much.
Well, that's it for this version of Success Tracks, and as I always say at the end of these, if you know someone who has experienced success in their field, and or you're one of those people, and you would like to share your journey with the world, we would be more than happy to do that, and maybe you could inspire some people with your story. So with that, we're out.